The next guest is Curran. He's a professor of cybersecurity, executive co-director of the Legal Innovation Center at Ulster University. He is one of the most interviewed technology experts in the UK, with over 2,000 plus interviews in recent years. That is quite a lot. Welcome to the show, Professor, and good morning.
Good morning. Delighted to be with you.
Thank you very much for joining us, and we will move on to our first question, and which is, what are the long-term implications of the recent NHS cyber attack, and is it possible to prevent such large-scale attacks in the future? As we are seeing that they are growing with much with a very good pace, and which is kind of very impossible to stop it.
Yes, unfortunately, the recent NHS cyber attack is likely to have long-term implications for the healthcare system in the UK. First of all, it disrupts care. This attack causes delays and cancellation of treatments due to the disruption of blood test processing, so we'll have a backlog here, and that could take months to clear. And of course, that will potentially impact patient care and waiting times. Then any attack like this, of course, will erode public trust in the NHS ability to safeguard patient data. So that could lead to increased anxiety and reluctance to use NHS services again, because people, rightly so, are very sensitive about their healthcare information being leaked. Of course, now we'll have to see really that there will probably have to be, and there should be actually, an increased investment in NHS cybersecurity infrastructure and protocols again to prevent future incidents like this. And again, we'll have to, of course, concentrate on third parties, vendors again. There's such a thing as a third-party supply software chain, which we worry about, like Synnovis again. So we'll have to possibly prioritize security standards for any third-party suppliers again. And of course, then this highlights the evolving nature of cyber threats targeting healthcare systems again. So we'll have to see if the NHS can continuously adapt and improve its defences again. So with regards to the second part of your question, really, about preventing large-scale attacks, and can we do that? Well, ultimately, we just need stronger cybersecurity measures again. So we need to spend more on robust firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and encrypting data as well in case that it ever is leaked. Of course, the main weakness at times is staff. So we'll have to see regular training for staff and cybersecurity best practices, even though quite a lot in organizations, again, that the cybersecurity training is so basic and it just does people's heads in. You're saying this and that, and you've got to do it mandatory, and quite often it's not practical, and it's done for compliance issues as well, for reasons as well. But unfortunately, it's very hard unless you were to send people to college to learn about cybersecurity. It's probably one of the best ad hoc things we have again. But of course, keeping systems up to date, just like for consumers again, your phone, the best thing you can ever do is install all the updates. Because the hackers will go for the low-hanging fruit, the people who keep older, out-of-date systems, including computer systems and phones and tablets as well. And again, we can just bring in audits and we can collaborate with experts. And again, but of course, most of this requires investments again. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the NHS is paid for by taxpayers. So there's a finite amount of budget that they can spend on cybersecurity.
Perfect. And in this light, a follow-up question could be that, nowadays everybody uses smartphones, and they have also smart appliances at home as well, like different devices. And obviously, there would be some potential risk of using those appliances as well. My question is that how can a consumer can mitigate these risks as well?
They are becoming increasingly common. Again, the ring doorbells, of course, the speakers that we have and everything else, of course. So again, ultimately, the number one risk is for hacking, that smart home devices can be vulnerable to hacking if they're not properly secured. And then, data could be stolen and your device can be controlled remotely because, of course, a lot of these manufacturers of smart devices, they don't have what we call a roadmap for cybersecurity updates, that they aim to just sell out these cheap consumer devices, make a pretty penny and then move on. And they don't have really any onus on being able to maintain the system. Whereas, believe it or not, the likes of Google, who produce the Android phones, are mostly, and Apple, that they do provide updates for, usually it can be anywhere between 7 years plus, but not that much further. And the same with Microsoft as well. But operating systems will go obsolete again, but especially when it comes to home Internet of Things devices, again, there is no onus on the manufacturers to keep them up to date with patches. And of course, every day, every device that we have gets weaker and weaker because new vulnerabilities are found. And again, of course, another worry is about privacy, of course. Because many smart home devices collect data on our daily routines, energy usage, and even conversations again. So that can be used for targeting advertising or sold to third parties again. So, of course, like many things, just make sure you have strong passwords whenever the updates are available. Use them. If you're offered two-factor authentication, use it. Ideally, if you were technical, you would have a secure network, a guest network again, but most people cannot do that with their standard reader Wi-Fi's again. And then, if you can, do a bit of research before you buy and try to get one from a manufacturer who prioritizes security updates again. But and again, you've got to worry about the vendor lock-in as well. A lot of these devices are only compatible with specific platforms, and of course, you need a Wi-Fi network again to get in. That there is a worry about a lot of these devices again. That there was a case last year which meant the use of an Amazon delivery driver going to a house. He had to dispute with the homeowner, who was later proved to be incorrect at the homeowner. But Amazon, in the meantime, disabled the homeowner's account, which controlled all their devices, because the driver has said that the person had said something racist, but it was later proven not to be true. But this person's entire house, because he was, to the forefront, he was ruled out of all his houses, all his locks. Everything else, because his account was locked out and closed down again. So there's always that danger again that that your device can be with technology or whatever else, Wi-Fi. What happens if you have a long-term outage as well? So my advice is not to be too smart. If you can help it as well. That sometimes traditional ways are still the best.
Professor, you said that to have a very strong password for one account. The question arises in my mind is that, for example, nowadays there are various different accounts you are using, and you can kind of be forgetful of having different passwords here. So what people do is that they kind of tend to have the same password for different accounts. Is it fine to have one strong password and to have it for different, multiple various accounts? Or should we have different passwords? Or what is the safest way?
Yeah, the safest way is strong, unique passwords for every single device. Every device.
And different or same? Different,
unfortunately, because again, so what happens is credential stuffing. There is a site called Have I Been Pwned, and it's all one word, but the pwned is PWNED, and it's a great site offered by a famous cybersecurity researcher from Australia, Troy Hunt. And on there at the moment we have approaching 10 billion unique or passwords which are leaked again. So what that site does, if you go there and type in your email address, it will tell you how many data leaks your email address associated with it has been in. It also tells you in real time if there's a new data link, for instance, from the BBC or Voice of Islam or whatever else, that it will tell you there and then that your password has been leaked according to this email address that you have. And many people have different email addresses as well. And it's free service, by the way, and there's no catch. And what happens is, I might have an email address, which we all do for BBC iPlayer, for instance, if you watch the BBC iPlayer. And there is no credit card details stored on the BBC side. So all they've got is my name, maybe my address, and my password, of course, into an account, just so I can log in and I guess whatever they're controlling.
Mm-hmm.
So if the BBC gets leaked tomorrow and my password associated with the BBC gets leaked, then really I don't have to worry about someone logging into the BBC iPlayer and watching stuff on my email because there's no credit card details associated with it and there's no private information on there. However, what happens is what we call credential stuffing. The BBC database gets leaked of whatever 55, 60 million people. What the hackers will do will gather that information off the BBC iPlayer side. What they will do instead is use my kg.curran@ulster, my email address there. They will retry the password that I used on the BBC side, again, which doesn't store any credit card details. They will go to Amazon, they will go to Bank of America, they will go to Twitter, they will go to anywhere where there is bank details and credit card information stored. And lo and behold, because most people reuse the passwords, they will find that the leaked password in the BBC side will work on ones where I got my financial information.
Mm-hmm.
That is the danger. And of course, there's also so many tools now. Computers are incredibly fast at breaking passwords and going through password lists and everything else. So therefore, you cannot reuse passwords on different sites because there's so many leaks out there. And if it gets leaked on one side, the hackers will try it on other sites.
Mm-hmm. Can you name the website again, which you named it before?
Have I Been Pwned? HAVEIBEENPWNED. HaveIBeenPwned.com.
Perfect.
It's a site that's behind. You might have seen already logging in on web browsers to certain websites that you go to and it says, your password has been in a data breach already. When the browser tells you that, it's getting it from that same site, by the way.
Perfect. That would be beneficial for myself and for the listeners as well. Thank you very much for joining us and providing us such a beneficial talk as well. Thank you very much for joining us and peace be on you.
You're welcome and peace to you.
Thank you. So that was Professor Kevin Curran, Professor of Cybersecurity and Executive Co-Director of the Legal Innovation Center.